All right, this is going to be fun. Let's welcome in, returning to the organization of the Winnipeg Jets, our old pal, Eric Comrie. Eric, it's been a minute. Welcome back to WST. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, sort of the dog days of summer, but tell you what, we got, big football game tonight, and obviously still lots of excitement over the Jets offseason and looking ahead to next year. And I know there was a lot of people that were pretty fired up that you're back in the fold with the organization, being such a popular player. Congratulations. How did it all come? How were you approaching free agency this time, and how did it work out that the Jets were the right spot for your next move?
It worked out really well. I mean, I just had a lot of good friends, a lot of good familiarity with the franchise, a lot of good memories there. So I was like, you know what? My wife and I talked about it and said this would be the perfect spot for us. And it was just, it couldn't have happened any better. We're so thankful for the opportunity, so thankful to be back. I mean, we love the city. We love the people there. We have some of our best friends there. Mark's one of my best friends. His wife's one of my wife's best friends. I mean, Josh is great. Helly, it's just, list goes on and on. How many great guys are on that team.
Well, and there is something to be said for going back to a familiar place with familiar. I mean, and God knows you more than anyone would know it. I mean, I remember one of our conversations on the show after you had done the quarantine merry-go-round of the National Hockey League in that bizarre season, and then obviously going to Buffalo, moving into at this point in your career, you kind of want a place where you know who you're working with, and you also know, particularly as a young father, which we'll get to, that, whether you're playing NHL minutes, backing up in the American Hockey League, you can sort of put down roots and have some sort of consistency to your life. And that's got to be a big, big benefit for a person in your situation.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for myself, I'm just so happy to be back. I just have so many good memories there and so many good friends and family there. It's almost like it's just very nice for me. And this put down some roots, like you said. I can kind of get a house situation where I know where I'm going to live every single day. It's not going to be, hopefully not moving around all the time like I was for a while there. It's just going to be more stable. And I want to make sure I have a stable home base for myself and my family, because that's the most important thing going forward, is really making sure I take care of my family and give them the best lifestyle I can.
It's kind of funny because I think about you being drafted and going to development camp and coming into the National Hockey League, but it actually has only been a couple years since you were last a Winnipeg Jet, because you did have that stint in the 21-22 season that it was probably more of your most consistent play with the Jets that actually earned you the opportunity to go out and get a bigger contract as a free agent.
Yes, it wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple of years ago, and I think, one of the biggest things of being back in Winnipeg is having the familiarity with some of the goalie coaches there, like Wade Flaherty and myself, have a very good relationship. We've worked very well together in the past. We understand what helps and gets me going the best in the ice, and I think for myself, that's something that I was really looking forward to, is just getting back to that familiarity with those different coaches and different things that help my game a lot.
It's always important too, the guys that you're sharing the crease with, working every day in practice with. Tell us about your relationship with Connor Hellebuyck, and what have you thought of his performance in the couple of years you've been on the other side with the Buffalo Sabres, obviously winning his second Vezina this year?
Helly and I are very, very close, very good friends, and we have always had a very tight relationship. I've played with him since I've known him since 2013 was the first time I probably met him. So it's been a little while now. You forget how old I'm getting and how old he's getting. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great. He's such a good goalie. To see his progression has been unbelievable. He's the best in the world for a reason. It's the amount of detail he puts into his game. I was there every single day watching video with him, going over what he wanted to work on in practice and different things like that. And it was special to see the amount of fine detail he takes into his game. And I'm really was no surprise to where he's been and where he's gotten to, because you can just see it every single day, just the accumulation effect.
What was the conversation like when the deal got done? You were coming back to Winnipeg. Did you give him a buzz, or had you talked to him beforehand and said this might be a possibility?
We were texting a little bit here and there, and he's hard to get a hold of in the summer. He's busy on the lake fishing all day long. So even with two kids, I don't know how he pulls that one off. I'm happy for him, but
I think that's awesome. The Buff plan.
Yeah, yes. So we were texting back and forth, and it was awesome. I know he's working hard back home this summer. He's skating and working out, and then whenever he has free time, he's fishing. So it's been great. we texted here and there a little bit. I congratulated him on the Vezina, and he congratulated me on being back, and we talked a lot during the season as well. So we always stay in touch.
Yeah, you'll certainly get your fair share of each other in a couple months or two, and
Yeah.
considering what you guys are both dealing with right now, I imagine that will be welcome. Hey, before we talk about changes in life and all that, you mentioned Wade Flaherty. He continues to get an incredible amount of credit from Connor Hellebuck for what he's done for himself. Obviously, we've seen what Laurent Brossoit has done for the last couple seasons here in Winnipeg. Tell us about working with Wade Flaherty and how he has been such an important part of so many great seasons for professional goalies here in Winnipeg.
So it's a hard question to answer if you're not a goalie, because he understands the position so well, and it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. Like he's worried about what's going to make your game the best. He's not worried about, oh, I want to make everyone play like Connor Hellebuck. No, that's not what his goal is. His goal is to make you the best version of yourself. And I think that's really important, because you look at a lot of guys nowadays, they have a mold that they want you to fit into, and they try and fit you into that mold, where he is more, I'm going to improve your skating. I'm going to improve this, and we're going to get this better. This is what I see in your game, which is going to take you to another level. And I think it's the amount of detail he puts into his work. Like every single day, he's never just going out there and going through the motions of the ice. He's always early, always ready, always prepared. The video sessions are some of the best you've ever had. I mean, you go through the video, it's just step by step. It's very, very detail oriented, very, very oriented to yourself, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting you mentioned that, because you're right. Not as a non-goalie. I mean, you can hear these terms, but goalies will resonate with that. But I mean, the bottom line is, I mean, Connor Hellebuck's resume speaks for himself. I mean, arguably, some of your best time in the National Hockey League came with Wade, and certainly LB the last couple of years has really benefited as well. And I mean, I guess that's another, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but that's another big plus at this point in your career, to come back and work with somebody that you have such confidence that can get the best out of you anytime you're out there.
100%. I think for myself, especially, just knowing that I have very good familiarity with the goalie coach and very good familiarity with the organization, just adds a lot of confidence to myself, and it allows myself to just go there and be myself and just play my game. And that's all I'm trying to do.
Eric Comrie is with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Congratulations are in order. You are a dad. What, you're 7 months into this new stage? I mean, how different is your life today than it was, say, a year ago or 2 years ago?
It's honestly been great. Like, it's been unbelievable. We are so blessed to have the best daughter named Capri. She's been awesome. She's been just, I mean, every single time I see her, she just gets the biggest smile on her face, and it just lights up your day, no matter what your day's been like. And it's unbelievable. Like, I'm so thankful and so happy to be able to just come home and see her every single day. It's the best part of my day is when I get to see her. She's been awesome. I mean, she's been funny though. She's very my parents, her grandparents, my parents call her mini me. So she's a lot like myself. She's got the exact same personality as me, and she looks just like me. So it's kind of a funny little thing.
Well, I had to laugh when you were mentioning what your daughter was like, because it kind of sounded like you were describing yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things, and I think why you were, I've been such a popular player, a teammate, wherever you've gone, is just, the way you conduct yourself, and the fact that you've always pretty much got a smile on your face. And it sounds like you got a little chip off the old block.
Yeah. The only problem with me was I was a very busy baby, and she's a very busy baby. She doesn't like to sit still. Like, I didn't like to sit still either. So it works out really well for myself. My wife is more of a more relaxed kind of person. She's been very busy lately. So it's been good. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of not sitting still, this is the one time of the calendar where you're away from the job and the daily grind. This is the first summer as a dad. How's the off season going right now? And like, what's the day like right now, knowing that you're pretty much set with where you're going next year? I'm sure there's probably a few plans to get done in Winnipeg, but what's the off season like for you right now before you really kind of dive in and get ready for another season in Winnipeg?
For myself, it's a lot of just, I mean, working out and skating is a big one. I've really been doing a lot of stuff in the gym, getting stronger, getting faster. Skating's been really good. And I have been getting out on the golf course every once in a while, which has been nice and fun. I played yesterday. My dad's actually going away for a couple of days, so I played with him yesterday. I played pretty well. I was quite happy with my round. I mean, I actually had Mark Presley came out a couple weeks earlier, and we had a member guest thing, and we came second, and we should have probably came first. We won the gross, but came second in net. I don't know. Maybe they were sandbagging a little bit, but it is what it is.
How do the head-to-head matches go between you and Scheif?
Well, he gives me some shots, and according to him, he calls me the biggest sandbagger in the NHL. There's actually an article about that. If you look, you can find it online where he actually mentioned that. But he says he's never beaten me. One time we were playing Ban Dunes together. I think he was even par, and it was like his best round ever. And I was beating him like I had him up 6 or something like that. And he was not very happy that night.
I can imagine that would drive him, of all people, that would drive him nuts.
Yeah, but my handicap's got a little lower, so he's not quite as he's really low. He's like a point 0.4 or something like that. He's really low, but I'm down to a 4.9, so we're getting closer now. So it's a little bit scary now when I play against him.
Well, it's neat. You know, we've seen Mark play in the Manitoba Open in the past. I believe it's Dylan Sandberg that's getting an opportunity to play this year, kind of representing the team. Well, and that's the thing. And, you know, you get to an event like that on PGA Tour Canada, and you just realize how incredible the players are. And, you know, a lot like professional hockey in a way. I mean, you know, if you didn't know, you might think the gap between the American League and the NHL was this massive, massive gap. Once you get there and start watching it, you realize that there's, I mean, a ton of players in one league interchangeable with some other players given the opportunity and a right break or two.
Pro hockey is I just think hockey in general is in a very good spot right now. You look at the game right now, I don't think it's ever been better. I mean, I watched the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. It was the best hockey I think I've ever watched in my life. I mean, the finals of Edmonton versus Florida might have been the best hockey I've ever seen ever. And it was just so much fun to watch every single game. The speed, the skill that they have in the game nowadays, it's insane. And I just think right now, I don't think hockey can be in any better spot than it is.
Eric, well, speaking of the playoffs and watching from afar, obviously, unfortunately, the Sabres did not make the postseason. Look, how much did you pay attention to what the Jets have been doing the last couple of years, but especially last year where they had that great season, 4th overall in the NHL, 52 wins, 110 points, but then really having a tough 5 games against a great Colorado team and, you know, a playoff run that started with so much promise being over, certainly before everyone here in the Peg had hoped.
I mean, I watched a lot of the playoffs, and I think the Jets had just an unbelievable year last year, and they deserved so much better. And to go up against that team is really unfortunate in the first round because that's one of the better teams I think that they could have faced. And I think they could have went all the way if they didn't lose those guys to the suspensions and a couple of different things here and there. They had some distractions. I mean, that Colorado team was built for the playoffs. I mean, that's one of the best teams I think I've ever seen. And like, they were unbelievable. That first round against the Jets was one of the best hockey teams I've ever seen play Colorado. It was unbelievable. Like, they couldn't be stopped. I don't care who they were playing against. They were going to win any series against anybody. It was unfortunate that Winnipeg ran into them in the first round, but I think if you play almost any other team, they have a better chance than against Colorado did.
Yeah, well, that is one thing about the Central Division. You're coming back to the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is still a tough one. The Dallas Stars, the Avalanche, the Jets, and then, I mean, you look at what Nashville did in free agency, adding the likes of Stamkos and Marchessault. And listen, you got to be good, but I think it speaks to, you know, as disappointing as the playoffs was, it says something about, you know, winning 52 games in a division like that, in a conference like that. And, you know, for a guy that's been on a team that, you know, isn't quite at that level the last couple of years, that's got to be a big part of it, just being excited to be back and being, you know, on a team that can contend to try and get more playoff hockey, more whiteouts here in Winnipeg and move on to the next step like the team had in the past while you were around.
100%, and they will. I mean, that's just the thing about it. They have a great leadership group. They have a great management group, great coaching staff, and I think that's all you can ask for is that team is prepared. They know what to do. They know how to win games, and I think when you have a goalie like Connor Hellebuyck who can steal a game every single night, and you have guys like Scheifele, Morrissey, it's just Kyle Connor. That's a team that can succeed. They have such great talent and great players, and it's been a joy to watch them from afar the last couple of years. I've been cheering for them and following them, even though I haven't been there at different conferences, so I can kind of cheer for them, which is good.
Well, you're back in the fold now, and part of it, you know, the one guy that I don't think was here when you were last here is Scott Arniel, who's the new head coach. Do you have any experience with Arnie from your past, and have you talked to the new head coaches at all?
Yes, I talked to him, and he seems awesome. He seems great. I talked to a lot of guys on the team who really like him, really like what he's doing to the team. He says everything's going in the right direction, and that's all you can ask for is that everything's going the right. I mean, everything's going the right way, and everything's really happy with the way things are going there. So I mean, they're really happy with the systems, with the way they play, the game plan, and that's the most important thing. And so I'm really excited to get to know him a little bit better, because I know I've been on a lot of teams, but I've not met him yet. So I'm very excited to meet him for the first time.
Well, and the funny thing is that, he had time here with the Moose and then back here with the Jets, was a player before. And, you've been here a few times, but just it never has met. And, but I do think, what your teammates say, I can tell you from a media perspective and just someone that's known him for a long time. Absolutely a great guy that I think, from hearing him and his excitement about the team and getting this opportunity, a second crack at head coaching in the National Hockey League, there will be a lot of excitement, not just from the players, but the coaching staff as well, with an entirely new group taking over for Bones heading into the season. Eric Comrie's with us. Eric, it's amazing. I'm thinking back to speaking with you the first time after you got drafted in 2013. It's now 2024.
You're aging me a little bit now.
Your dad, well, and myself. Listen, it works the same for all of us. Yeah. But you're coming back at a very different time in your career. And, the Jets have two young goaltenders that have been drafted or signed in the last couple of years, Thomas Milic and Dom DiVincentis. What do you remember about coming into the organization as a draft pick, cutting your teeth as a pro, and what do you think you bring now as a veteran, considering your experience, that might be able to help those two young men as they begin their professional journeys, to hopefully ending up at some point in the future with the Jets?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing I remember is just how welcoming the organization was and how friendly everything was there. I think you go to a lot of places and you think you get overwhelmed, you get a little bit scared because it's like, okay, if you don't play good, you're done. Well, here it's don't get me wrong, it's still a business. You got to play good, you got to succeed, but it's also, they care about you as a person. They care about you as a human being. They don't just throw you to the wolves and expect you to just be fantastic. They work with you. They teach you along the way. They want you to be the best person you can be. And I think that's something that's very important. I think that's something that you can't take for granted. That's why I love the organization so much, is they really care about you, not only as a player, but also as a person. And not every organization's that way. And I'm just so thankful that they're going to be experiencing that and they can learn from that. And I think myself, I've been through it all, so I can kind of help them and guide them along the way as well. Just like I've had a couple guys do the same to me. I had Hutch. I played with Pavel a little bit down there in the American League, played with Helly. So I've experienced it all. I've been through a lot of different things, and I think I can help different guys through that journey.
Eric, it is awesome to have you back in the program. Now, in the past, you more than any other guest, I think, from the Jets, I've always liked to. You got a lot of clubs in your bag when it comes to sports and being a sports fan. There's some guys that are just completely focused on one thing. You are not that guy. But I do have to ask you, Remus was mentioning this off air. You're a noted fantasy football player. There are some unique challenges in the first year after becoming a father when it comes to GMing. How is your prep going on right now? And have you thought about having to juggle all of your roles as a father, as a professional hockey player, and as a fantasy football GM?
I'm a little bit nervous about it right now because I haven't been following up to date as much as I should be. So I'm a little bit nervous with where I stand. In my last 2 years, I wasn't as good a performance as I would have liked. I had a keeper league in Buffalo. I have a keeper league with a bunch of my friends around in Winnipeg. So I have to make sure that I have to get some stuff in motion to see who I want to keep and stuff like that. I had a pretty good team. I kind of went try to make a run for it in Buffalo last year. I fell short. It didn't work out, so I lost a lot of draft picks. So I'm really hurting. So I got to make sure I find some sleepers late in the draft. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I'm really excited because every Sunday my wife got Capri a little shirt that says "On Sunday we watch football with Dad." So I'm really excited about watching football with her and just on the couch and just cheering for my players along the way.
That is awesome. And you know what? From a team perspective, talking with you and a bunch of the guys while they've been in Winnipeg, that like the internal competition in the fantasy league on the squad is a real thing. And I imagine you're looking forward to coming back, even with new teammates, mixing it up in a new league this year in that Winnipeg Jet dressing room.
100%. I mean, it's always fun to get into a new league. It's always fun to see new faces, new players in the league, and how they manage their team. Because you never really know. Because a lot of guys manage their team very differently. But you never really know what they like to do. Whether they go wide receiver heavy early and running back heavy early. I'm usually a running back heavy early guy, and I think last year that kind of hurt me because there was a lot more valued running backs later in the draft than there were early in the draft last year, and I think that really hurt me last year, and I was really disappointed because I mean. My one keeper league team, I had Bijan, and then I had Nick Chubb early, and then I had who was the other? I had another star running back really early. I forget, but I had a really good team, and it hurt me a lot. Nick Chubb really hurt. It was unfortunate. It was a sad injury to see, but it was.
Yeah.
I had a stacked running back for him, and unfortunately, it did not work out for me.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you're back here, we've always got a spot for you on WST. And even if, there's a lot of hockey going on, we could just talk fantasy football with you sometimes on that as well. So
I would love to talk anything. I love anything sports. I watch all sports. I mean, I'm watching the golf, Scottish Open this week. I got the British Open next week. We got...
hey, did you watch the soccer? Like
Copa,
the
I watched
Copa?
a lot of Copa. I've watched a lot of Copa. I've watched a lot of the Euros. It's been unbelievable. Canada, I was rubbing in my wife's face. She's American, so I was rubbing in her face and saying that we're the better soccer country and we're
That's
coming
true.
to the top. And unfortunately, Argentina beat us. So it was still actually a good game. I mean, Argentina's a really good team, and I think the game before where they won was unbelievable. It was the penalty kicks was insane. I loved it. I couldn't stop watching. I mean, my brother Mike has got a couple boys that play soccer. That it wasn't the most pretty penalty shooter of all time he's ever seen, but it was exciting.
Just before we go, as a goalie, a guy that knows what shootouts are like in hockey, what is it like watching these soccer games when they go to penalties? And what do you think? Are you thinking about it from a goalie's perspective, or are you just like a regular fan saying, "Okay, nail it there in the top corner and"?
Well, in the Canada game, I was really nervous. So I was kind of on the edge of my seat, kind of going, "Oh no!" Because when we missed the first one, I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! We're not going to win this game." And then all of a sudden, that was unbelievable. I was watching more as a fan, but I believe I was watching. What game was I watching? The other penalty might have been the Euro, where I was watching that one, and I was like watching it more as a goalie perspective, saying, well, "I don't understand." I was trying to understand how they played it. And I know it's a bit of a guessing game, and you're kind of anticipating before you go, but it's fun to see. I mean, it's fun also to see a different perspective of different shooters and how the more skilled guys and the guys who are more confident just drill it as hard as they can in the back of the net. And the guys who are a little more nervous try to place that shot. And sometimes that placement gets a little bit iffy.
Well, exactly. It seems like they're waiting a little bit extra to get a tell from the goalie and then just making sure you're going in.
That's what happened in the Canada game. The guy missed. I mean, first guy, he just kind of hit a soft one. I went wide. I was like, "Oh man!" Like he just seemed like he's just kind of placed it a little too good.
Well, Eric, listen, great having you on the program. I hear in the background you got dogs, you got a baby, maybe even a tea time later on. I'll tell you what, we'll let you go here, but great to know that you're coming back to the Peg. We will look forward to seeing you in training camp. Have a great rest of the off season and preseason for fantasy football. And we'll look forward to seeing you here. We'll do this again real soon. All the best, and great to see you back with the Jets.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.